Hi. Good morning, super amazing conscious parents. Welcome to another episode of the Conscious Parenting TV program, and I'm still your super amazing host, Dr. Vivian Okoye. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you on this platform once every week. And on today's episode, we are talking about how we can equip our children to resist negative influences. I mean, we're living in a world and we're definitely going to send our children into the world. We cannot shield them from all the negativity out there. We cannot shield them from all the people out there. Your children are going to mix up with people from different backgrounds, different agenda, different values, and they're going to recruit your child. They're going to try to recruit your child. They're going to try to influence your child. They're going to try to impose their ideas on your child. So the question is, how do you protect your child? How do you equip your child to not be prone or to not be easily influenced negatively, right? So, number one thing, I like to go straight to the point, no beating around the bush. So, number one thing is you have to make your values clear to your child and you have to teach them those values. Parenting is like indoctrination. Parenting is like programming. Parenting is like conditioning. Most of who we are today is as a result of how we were raised, right? And this is why we talk about conscious parenting, we talk about deliberate parenting, we talk about intentional parenting. Because we know that we are mostly who we are raised to be. So we have to consciously instill the values that will help our children navigate this world in them, right? As a family, your vision for your family should be clear. You should have a family vision. You should know exactly what your family stands for and what you want your family to look like, what you want your family to be known for, what you want your kids to be known for anywhere they find themselves. And this brings you to your mission statement, and this comes down to the values that you want to instill in your child. And the values you want to instill in your child is dependent on the world that we find ourselves in. So you have to look at the present world. You have to look at what it needs, what your child needs to navigate the world, what your child needs to function, what your child needs to stand on their own, what your child needs to be responsible and to take care of themselves, what your child needs to know about themselves, right? So you have to instill values in your child. You have to define what your values are. You have to communicate what your values are, and you have to deploy a strategy for teaching those values to your child age appropriately, so that your values are so ingrained in your child's being that when they go out there into the world and they see people doing things that do not align to their values, they are quick to recognize and they are quick to, to block it off, right? So for instance, you have taught your child the fear of God and you have ingrained that value in your child. You have made your child to understand that, you need to fear God, you need to respect God, you need to obey God, and you need to be aligned with God. If you have taught your child rightly that this is the value that you stand by, and that as somebody bearing our surname, our last name, you have to live by this value. What happens is, if your child has gotten it, when they go into the world and they see people who is trying to shame them for fearing God, who is trying to recruit them to the opposite agenda, they are going to look at those people and be like, how possible is it that somebody can be living their life this way and not knowing that you really need to fear God, right? So that is what instilling your value in your child does for your child. And when we talk about instilling your values to your child, it doesn't mean that you just come and read your values out to your child and tell them, oh, this is our value, this is what our family lives by, and then you must obey. No, you must always communicate it in a way that you get a buy-in from your child. Your child must know that this value is for their own good and for their own protection. And once you have gotten a buy-in, once you have been able to convince your child that this is actually for their own good and for their own protection, then you have been able to, instill that value in your child. You don't have to force it. You don't have to be confrontational about it. You just have to get a buy-in, and then you have to be it. When I say be it, I mean you have to model it for your child. Your child has to see you living out those values that you want them to live by as well. Right. Another thing that you need to do for your child to help them stand against negative influences is to fill their self-esteem and self-confidence bucket. I always say that you need to fill your child's self-esteem and self-confidence bucket so much that no matter the holes or how many holes that is poked in them outside in the world, that they still have enough to navigate the world, right? So for instance, you have raised a child not to abuse women, not to be rude to girls, or not to drink alcohol. Your child is going to grow up, they're going to go to secondary school, go to university, where there are other boys or other girls coming from other backgrounds and trying to use alcohol drinking and the number of women you sleep with as a gauge for their confidence, and they're going to make your child look like they are Lily Livered or they are Jew man, as we say it's quote and unquote in Nigeria. It takes a child who is so confident in who they are to not succumb in such situation, right? When they are making jest of you and telling you that the reason why you cannot get a girl or the reason why you do not drink alcohol is because you are a Jew man, you don't know what's up, you are not up to date, right? It takes a child who knows their identity, who knows their self-worth, and who has confidence in themselves to actually withstand such pressures. So this is something that we need to do for our child. We need to root their identity in God. We need to instill the right values in them, and we need to constantly fill in their confidence bucket, right? The third thing you want to do for your child is to be available. You want to be available for your child, because when you make yourself accessible, your child can have conversations with you. They can be free to come to you even when they are on the verge of making a huge mistake, even when they are being pressured by their friend, even when they are feeling worthless in front of their friend. They can come back to you for reassurance. But if they don't have that kind of access to you, if they don't have that kind of relationship with you, then there is a tendency that they're going to fall into the hands of the same people that you're trying to protect them from, right? So having a deep bond, creating a connection and a deep relationship with your child is a non-negotiable when it comes to parenting. So you want to create that kind of relationship where your child will run to you when they have made a mistake and not run away from you, right? So these are the three things that you need to do for your child. Number one, instill your values. Be clear on what your values are. Be clear on the values that you want to teach your child. Communicate those values and deploy a strategy to teach your child these values in an age-appropriate way. Number two is to fill your child's confidence bucket, self-esteem bucket. Boost your child's self-esteem so much so that no matter how much the world out there tries to bring them down, they still have enough confidence and enough self-esteem to push their way through and to withstand the pressures out there in the world. Then number 3 thing is that you must be available to your child. You must make yourself available and accessible to your child, so much so that they can run back to you when they have made a huge error or when they are at the verge of making a bad decision, instead of running away from you. I hope that these 3 things, if you start doing them today, I know, not that I hope, I know that if you start doing them today, you are equipping your child seriously to withstand all of the pressures that they're going to face when they eventually go into the world. Now, how do you start? What is the next step? This is where I come in. I have created an e-guide for you to help you narrow down and come up with your family vision, your family mission statement, and your family values, and put them together, start to communicate them, and start to teach them to your children. It's just for a token of 1,000 naira only, or $3. You can get it. It will help you, put your family vision, mission, and values together. And you can also get our book. Is an e-guide also on how to bond with your child, how to create a deep bond with your child. That book takes you through how to create time to strengthen your relationship with your child, how to build a deep relationship with your child, and it has a lot of family activities you can do with your children to strengthen your relationship and to build a deep bond. So I hope that you get these 2 materials to help you get started on this journey of instilling the right values with your child, creating the right relationship with your child, so that you can equip them to stand against negative influences out there in the world. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Until I see you again next week on another episode of the Conscious Parenting TV program. Thank you and God bless you.